morning, and welcome to our latest episode of our podcast, Beyond Sundays, Loving My Neighbor Well. So today we have on the show Mayor Angie Devanney and Senior Pastor of New Providence Presbyterian Church, Luke Gordon. And as you know, our podcast is really about having conversations with people who are having an impact in the community. And we really want to know how they're loving their neighbors well. And so we're here with Mayor Devanney, who I've known for a while, who served on multiple task force, really trying to bring communities together, particularly after crisis, like the George Floyd incident, like our recent flooding crisis in town. So we've got a pretty good relationship. We've known each other for a while. So we said, let's talk to Mayor Devanney today and have a conversation about what she's seen throughout her tenure as mayor here, and really learn a little bit more about what it really means to her personally and professionally to love her neighbors well. And we have Pastor Luke here, who is our fearless leader in this conversation, who's looking to really get connected to more of the officials in town. He's been with us since September. So he's really getting his feet wet, and he's really super enthused about connecting and learning about our communities and how he can serve well. All right, so with that, I'll just ask a few questions of Mayor Devanney, kind of tell the folks watching about your journey a little bit as mayor and what you've learned during your tenure here when it comes down to loving your neighbor well.
Yeah, so I ran for office in 2018 and was inaugurated in 2019. We had a scare with equine encephalitis. I thought that was going to be the worst public health crisis
that was
I
the
would
big
ever
thing.
have to manage. Like I would be, one and done, and it was frightening. And then 6 months later, Governor Murphy was at a podium, I think at Overlook Hospital, announcing the first few cases of COVID, and of course, Berkeley Heights was one of them.
Right.
So scrambling to, to do the right things. There was no handbook, of course, for a pandemic like this, and just caring for the community. Just being transparent in our communicating even when it was difficult. I remember reporting out the first death that we had, and I think later that night, I was sort of in a fetal position crying because it was just so difficult to know that you were losing, that no matter how hard you were working to protect them, we were still going to lose residents, and that we did lose people in the process. So that was really, really difficult. But I guess, my platform when I ran was about taking care of the people that may have felt marginalized in this community, seniors, veterans, people of color, and really trying to, bring those people to the forefront and show that as leaders that we love and respected them, as any other part of the community, and that we were all equal. And so that's really been, the mission for the last almost 8 years. I can't believe it's almost 8 years.
Wow, I know, yeah, it seems like just yesterday, but then there's part of it that seems like pre-COVID was like a whole nother world, like another time.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah, and it was.
It is a different world now,
Yeah, but man, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you so
and
much.
Leading.
Yours too.
Leading a city through COVID. We remember what that's like, leading the church through that time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And pulling together, and you're trying to be wise, come up with the best solution to a scenario that we had no idea how to do that. And so, as leaders, it's very challenging.
And one of my partners or people that I leaned on, I'm not Catholic, I'm Baptist, but Father Andy from the Little Flower Church, he and I used to talk every day, and he used to call it leadership tired, because at the end of the day, all you could do is sort of plop your head on the pillow because you were trying so hard to, to work through something that nobody had ever been a part of.
Yeah, it's like you make the best decision you can.
Yeah.
And then, in 6 months, you can look back and just know if it was a good decision or not.
Right.
You don't even know until time will tell.
Do you remember when we were washing bananas? We thought that
yes,
or
putting putting groceries in the garage and letting it sit for days.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Weird time.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad
we made it.
We made
more
it.
Resilient.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sure we're stronger as a result.
I mean, some of the things that now I know you've been studying personally, I think it would be great for everyone in our church community to know about that. Just your heart and motive behind it. Talk a little bit about your master's program.
My happiness journey?
Your happiness journey,
Okay,
that's what you call it, happiness journey.
Yeah. So the first term was sort of dealing with COVID, and my business administrator, Liza, the following year I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So there was a lot of difficulty that we endured the first term.
Just building resilience.
Yeah, just
like
building
all of that,
resilience.
yeah.
So the second term and the toxicity of politics, these days, regardless of what side of the aisle that you're on, it's been really difficult. So I thought to myself, there has to be something better than this, better than what we're sort of striving for. And it's that hedonic treadmill. That's, if I get good grades, I'll get into good college, good job. Then I'll be happy when I have this big house in the suburbs in Berkeley Heights, right?
That if we could just do that.
If we could just do that at the end of this path, we're going to be happy. And,
pleasure.
Right,
yeah,
and satisfied. And the reality is the science, everything proves that that's not true. So I happened to read an article about Dr. Laurie Santos, who had the most popular class in Yale history.
Wow.
So I took the online course, and I happened to meet Dale Caldwell, who is now the Lieutenant Governor of New Jersey. Yeah. But at the time, he was the president of Centenary University. And we were sort of talking about the science of things. And he said, well, we offer a master's program in happiness studies. And it's taught by the professor who had the most popular class at Harvard,
that is so
Harvard.
Cool.
Yeah, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, who is an amazing human being. So I had my oldest was in college, and I thought, well, maybe this isn't the right time for me to go back to school. Thought about it for a few months, and I said, well, why not? This is my time. I need this happiness journey. I've kind of been on it for 6 months, 8 months. Let's make it more formal. And so I did receive my master's degree in December, and it's been a remarkable journey of touching people and talking to them about it. We talk a lot about SPIRE, and that stands for spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional. Yeah. And so you guys are so much a part of the spiritual aspect of the 5 elements that have proven to make you happy. So spirituality is incredibly important. Sense of purpose, servant leadership, all of those things.
And they're all connected.
Yeah,
and we talk about that a lot in our church, about how we're focused on growing spiritually, but if you have a deficit in other category, relationally or even physically, that impacts our spiritual life. So we're looking at the whole thing as well.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that, from our biblical Christian perspective, that's what the Bible teaches too. We're whole people, and God loves us and wants us to love Him with our heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's, that is getting at this holistic
And we
picture.
get away from that in Western culture, that we treat the whole person, that it's all that interconnectedness is the, scaffolding, the foundation of what we need,
So great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm tempted to go I want to be a happiness expert too.
Come join us.
Yeah. And that's what we want for the people of our church, is that we would show up in the world and represent that joy and that hope, that whatever circumstance is before us, whatever life throws our way, that we can be resilient, that we can learn how to walk through that with happiness and with joy. And you don't get that if you think life is all about just comfort or pleasure or the hedonic treadmill.
It's fleeting, it's fleeting, but that sustained happiness or human flourishing really comes from those 5 elements. So we need to balance ourselves.
And there's a big emphasis today on the whole person. Self-care is a big topic. We are kind of entering people and engaging with people who are dealing with mental health. And trying to address it at the core, at the very early stages, before it becomes something that is life-altering for individuals. And so the work you're doing in this space is really about getting to the heart of that, to provide alternatives to people, particularly in a time when we're very polarized, when we've seemed to have turned on our neighbors, when we've turned inward, looking for our own personal joys and personal satisfactions, and ignoring our neighbors and some of their needs at our detriment.
Right.
And I know that the work that you're doing, Pastor Lee, also wants to be able to encourage a congregation spiritually how to develop in a way that loves their neighbor and starts to think outwardly about the impact that they're having. So I want to get into a little bit of impact.
Okay.
So talk to me about your journey as mayor through those turbulent few years, and then how you started to land your impact. which ultimately leads to this happiness journey that you're on now. But kind of walk us through some of those.
So it's interesting.
The good stuff and
the bad stuff, right. So I just gave a workshop to the Manhattan JCC on bridging the political divide, cultivating purple. So when I first ran in 2018, I ran on purple, and the reason was because it was blue and red, Republican coming together for the betterment of the community.
Yeah.
So
when I did youth ministry, we used it. Boys and girls have to have separate dorms, and we can't. We said no purpling. Now,
no purpling,
now
yes.
we're saying yes purpling.
Different definition this time.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I think
I'm tracking now.
more positive one, maybe.
Yeah, right.
So that was just a way of, the symbolism was this, is that everybody is a part of our community. We're more alike than we are not alike. We're all, residents of Berkeley Heights, and we're, parents, and we're working, and we're struggling, and we're all trying to do it together, and we need to lean on each other. So it just had that kind of message to it. So I've just continued to do that, the capacity to love, the capacity for kindness, the capacity for forgiveness, because you need a lot of forgiveness, the capacity for curiosity. When somebody takes a political position or just a position that's, opposite to what you believe or think, get curious about that.
Yeah.
Why does that
Absolutely.
person vote a certain way or think a certain way? And
Absolutely.
sometimes you uncover something that really cultivates a lot of compassion and empathy.
Sure.
And that should be required in politics and life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like the first response should be curiosity.
Yeah.
Ask a question, which is what Jesus did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much conflict that we read as he was doing his ministry, and sometimes it was from the religious leaders, and he responded with questions more often than like a truth claim or a statement of of power. It's like, hey, I want to hear what you have to say, and then it makes people think about their position, and you learn.
And attentive listening, right?
Right.
Instead of, as soon as somebody says something that you don't agree with, or maybe you agree with, you're always sort of coming up with that response or the next answer, instead of like truly actively listening to the person and what their message is.
Well, and that requires, hey, ultimately, I believe that we together can solve the issues if we work together. And that's what I hear you saying, as a community, if we can work together to serve the community, rather than getting pulled into like kind of the polarization nationally, let's kind of be community focused in this.
Absolutely. And we've had instances of that. We had something happen last year. The resident was displaying a Trump flag. He got an anonymous, hurtful letter. His wife was pregnant. He happened to be working, a job where he wasn't home at night, several nights in a row. And everybody should feel safe in their community. And so, and it got posted on social media, and it kind of took on a life of its own on both sides. And we had to bring it back together and say, let's do something. Let's do a community project. Let's do something for the VFW. Again, that in-group commonality, that we are more alike than we aren't.
Yeah, I agree. I forget that was just last year.
It was, I
Wow.
just gave a talk on it. It was only 2025.
Wow.
I was surprised too. I thought it seemed like years ago.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
It does. And that's part of the journey that we're on. That's why we wanted to do this podcast. Is really it's a curiosity.
Yeah.
And trying to change people's conversations to be more curious.
Yeah.
Instead of fist up, it's more about, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
that's you. You always bring that approach to everything we've done together.
He's the perfect person
he really
for this.
is, because that is just your approach to life, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying. And when you meet people like you and Pastor Luke, who have the same heart and same mind, I love to get the different perspectives, how you approach that, how you've come to that end. And I recall a few years back, we had some really tumultuous time, probably everything around COVID now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But we were labeled Bickering Heights. A lot of things that were going on with the
for decades. This wasn't new. For decades, unfortunately.
That's a label you want to break.
Exactly.
How do we overcome from that one?
Exactly. And temperatures seem to run really hot on trigger events, trigger thoughts in the community. And so tell us about going through that, and where do you think we are now? Do you feel like we are in a better trajectory as you folks know now, Mayor Angie Devanney will not be running again this year, so we'll miss her leadership.
Thank you.
But as you leave, your legacy, how do you feel the town has moved forward?
I am really proud.
Yeah.
I am really proud. I would say that the vast majority of my council colleagues that I've served with over the last 8 years, the day they walked out the door, I would call them a friend. And our relationship may not have started that way. And in fact, it wasn't that way. We have had a bipartisan council, and we have been able to accomplish so much in terms of infrastructure and grants, on unprecedented levels because we were working together.
Yeah.
There wasn't the division within the governing body pulling your attention away from what really was what we needed to do was the work, the governance, and so we've been really successful as a community. I'm proud that we have our flag raisings, our cultural flag raisings, and that we celebrate everybody, and we've done that consistently.
Yeah.
I am proud that we have a Veterans Festival to honor them. I am proud that we have a senior affairs, and they're probably the seniors are probably downstairs right now playing bingo. They're here every day. Just we found a space for everybody, and we've thrived because of it, I believe.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So good.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for what you do and have done. And our heart is just to show up and be present in the community and be good neighbors. Yeah. Just because that's what Jesus tells us. The greatest command is love God, and then the second is like it, love your neighbor. And you can't love your neighbor unless you're present, showing up. So that it's so simple, and it's almost like, okay, well, is it oversimplifying things? Mm-mm. And yet yes, life is complex, the issues are complex. I mean, we're not simplifying the issues, but that priority of showing up and loving first is not oversimplification. Yeah. That's how you begin to move through dealing with those challenges. Yeah. So thanks for letting us.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So I think I asked you this when we talked earlier, but and this might be a little painful for us at New Providence, but what is your perception of our church? Before this conversation, kind of what has been your perception of New Providence Presbyterian Church?
Well, I think I said to you that I don't get out of Berkeley Heights much, so I didn't know a whole lot.
So you just don't know much, right?
But I don't blame that on you. I blame on the fact that I don't get out of Berkeley Heights as much as I should.
It's kind of a neutral statement,
yeah.
You're like, I don't know much about your church. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get out after I finish this term and do more, in the world. So
that's okay.
Well, you'll always be welcome down the street.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've been having a lot of discussions around, because we really want to have a bigger impact. And part of that impact is working with officials and hearing their heart and hearing the mission that they're on for their cities. And so some of the things that we've been discussing as church leadership is, how are people being discipled? And social media is a big discipler these days. Some positive, a lot negative. And I was listening to a podcast, I think I shared with Pastor Luke a while ago, and they labeled folks who like to stir the pot as conflict entrepreneurs. And so, and how AI and algorithms kind of feed into that.
Absolutely.
And start to grow that. And so we know that that's a problem, that people are less engaged and are more willing to go down these rabbit holes or these echo chambers of that. And so we're happy that you're doing the work that you're doing. Post, you never retire, but as you leave office, what are your thoughts about the future and some of the things that you want to stay involved with to help continue the legacy you built, to help maybe disciple other folks in happiness, spread some of that around. We'll continue to try to build people's faith and their fullness experience with God, so that they can understand that there's more of a fullness. And when you are a follower of Christ, there should be joy. You should be the happy person that walks into the room. And so we're discipling and we're working with people to kind of build their faith in that area. That joy is just something that just oozes out of them. So for you, what does that look like post-office?
So it's interesting. The World Happiness Report for 2026 was all about social media and the detriment that it is and has become on our mental health and our physical health. So I always say to my team, and I've seen it it started with the Mayor's Wellness Committee. That was my vehicle to spread happiness in Berkeley Heights, right? And I've seen it. It is a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Negativity is a contagion, but so is positivity.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. So you have to choose, are you going to push out positivity or are you going to, push out negativity? And I choose positivity. Michelle Obama had a beautiful quote that I'm probably going to butcher, but it goes something like this. Most people don't understand elected office, nor should they. There's a white hot light that comes with public office.
Yeah.
What I choose to do is shine it out on other people, and that's what public service should be about. That quote is laminated. It's in I have it something called a positive contagion box that when you need a little boost, quotes, pictures, and things that make you happy.
Nice.
But it's about being the change you want to see, right? That's Gandhi.
Yeah.
Simple. The ancients knew, the Bible, everybody way back knew the formula. I don't know why we keep missing it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And it does change your way of seeing the world when you choose to be. Well, we use gratitude.
Oh my goodness.
Those two things go hand in hand. Positivity and gratitude.
Absolutely.
Like, how can we, instead of criticizing, instead of nitpicking? I mean, we can always do that. We can find a million things every day to be upset or to complain about. But what if we choose instead to notice every day the things we're grateful for? And it reframes your life. And who wouldn't want to reframe their life around positive rather than negative?
Can I go nerd for a minute?
Yeah, let's go.
So we have a negativity bias in our brains to protect us from the big scary dinosaurs and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So we can our brains are plastic, that's neuroplasticity, right? So if we want to think positively, we create new neural pathways, and then your brain defaults to that rather than
ruts.
negativity.
It's like wheel ruts in the mud.
We have ruts, or if we choose to think about things negatively, guess what gets created?
Yeah.
Negative ruts, right? Negative pathways.
So it takes some work to retrain your mind,
else, right? Yeah. We work out, or we try to eat healthy. That's a daily practice.
And that's where like the spiritual side of Spire.
Yeah.
I mean, like spiritual disciplines are kind of a lost practice in the church, but for hundreds of years, Christians have practiced these disciplines that create those, now the science behind it, those neural pathways of gratitude to where we end up accessing that way easier in our life, and we become grateful people rather than bitter people.
Yeah.
And so, but it takes practice.
Yeah, that's well explained. You simplified it. You distilled it beautifully. Yeah. So that's it. That's the secret to life. There you go. We can go home now. Ready?
Exactly. All right. So as we wrap up, one big question. I want to talk about the youth. So what message do you have for the youth? Mm-hmm. What have you seen that has encouraged you about the next generation? And then how can we love that generation and be a difference maker in their lives?
So I have something called the Mayor's Youth Council, and the things that I've seen them do and the projects that they've been engaged in have been remarkable. So I've witnessed it firsthand. But I'm going to go sciencey nerdy again. So the University of North Dakota did a study, 200 participants, college students, one Republican, one Democrat on a Zoom call. The level of anxiety going into this Zoom call was at epic proportions, and they're talking about all the difficult immigration, policing, abortion, all the difficult issues, gun control that people talk about. So how do you think it went after the Zoom call? They were on for an hour.
I think they got to a happy place, or they got to a place where dialogue was happening. So anxiety and fear kind of evaporated, and dialogue kind of enters in.
87% said they had a very respectful, wonderful conversation. Most of them said that they'd want to meet that person in person, and I think 91% said they had hope for the future.
Yeah.
So I think about that study when you ask me that question, that there's proof that there's hope for the future.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What about you, Pastor Luke?
Oh man, no. I mean, I can just riff off of that. I mean, I think it's kind of like what we've been saying. We can choose to look at a negative future, or choose to say, hey, no, there is hope, and let's work together. The building relationship, building connection, that's the thing that creates hope, but also gives us a way forward.
Absolutely.
And so I think, and I think youth get that. Like students get it. Like they are more open to being hopeful. It's just, when you get lost in the negativity, it's hard to see that. But
echo chambers.
Yeah, the echo chambers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's easy for that. I try to talk to my kids and any young folk is always assume positive intent. I think where we've landed as a society is always this negative. You believe someone's out to get you or there's harm. And so what if we entered conversations with positive intent, right? This person cares about me. They want to have a dialogue with me.
Yeah.
And so that wall comes down naturally. And that's a muscle that takes time to build.
Yeah.
And the other muscle is, let's not focus on things that disqualify people, right? We want to, and I guess today's culture says counsel, but it's really about disqualifying. I'm coming up with reasons why you can't love your neighbor because they vote a certain way, because they love a certain way, because they look a certain way. So all these things that disqualify the image bearers of God, which is against God. So what if we found a way to not disqualify people, but be curious about people and love them? The Bible doesn't say love others who look like you or look like you. It says go out and love your neighbors.
Yeah.
And so
And your enemies.
Pray
for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're called to a much higher standard, and I think that's what we want to be able to model for our youth. That there is a different way. You don't have to lead with hostility. Lead with curiosity and lead with love, and always assume positive intent.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Great note to end on.
Yeah.
Angie, thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Kyle,
Angie.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank
This
you
is
for
great.
joining us for our conversations. And we'll promise a follow-up with Angie when she leaves office. We're going to check in on her and see what she's up to, see how her happiness journey is still going and how she's still impacting people. So until we meet again, Beyond Sundays, Loving My Neighbor Well, I'm your host, Kyle Brogdon, Mayor Devanney, Pastor Luke.
Good stuff. Thanks.